Our last keynote speaker for the day, and by the way, what we decided to do is integrate the comments from our keynote speaker into the IOFI workshop. The speaker for both of those is, it's an honor to present Brother Mughis Shaukat. Brother Shaukat is a global Islamic financial strategist and policy advisor. He's a thought leader, an author, a trainer, public speaker, and a prominent contributor to local and global policy and strategic affairs. He's held positions in fintech and digital banking with MIT. He's an Islamic banking advisor with INSAFE and a pioneer leader of Islamic finance with SBFC under the Central Bank of Oman. He's also the vice chair of IOFI's educational board in Bahrain. His focus and interests includes fintech, the halal industry, Islamic banking, Sharia governments, SMEs, venture capital, takaful, and probably several other things by the time we leave here. Yeah. But it's really prolific for sure. Under his leadership, Brother Shaukat has made CBFS into a global entity, winning GIFA awards from the President of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. He's also awarded a FinTech Leader of the Year. He was also awarded the FinTech Leader of the Year award in 2020 by Turkey and featured on the front cover of a top magazine under the heading of Global Personality, Strategist, and Thought Leader. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Brother Mughis Shaukat. Brother Mughis Shaukat.
You've been so dazzling all this day. I can forgive you for that. This happens. It's the end of the conference. People are tired. They want to go home. And, these things are pretty normal. We're all humans, is what I'm saying. Assalamu alaikum to all, and thank you very much for being so patient, being so courageous, full of energy, full of strength, that you've survived these 2 days of, wow, what an information download it has been. I'm just still trying to get my bearings right, it was so much philosophy and, Q&A and credit unions to Z-scores, beautiful Z-scores you showed, and then the microfinance, you had Shocker, opening up with all the data analysis. I'm a data guy, so I like numbers in terms of making sense out of it, so wow, and I feel since yesterday morning, I feel so small every hour, and I feel myself just like a fly on the wall. I'm just not there. It's just so much information downloadable. So what I'll try and do in a very humble fashion is try and put my, not even 1 cent contribution in all the plethora that we have produced and value that has been created knowledge-wise, hikmah-wise, otherwise as well. The guy in purple, man, oh man, your questions are burning. This is, I hope you go easy over here, please. This is why I intentionally had tea with you, just to appease you. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for being so patient. And, I won't want to take too much time. These guys have asked me to do a workshop as well, but that's an important workshop because I think it's very, very important for the perspective of future gains and how we are trying to craft the trajectory of Islamic finance in the United States. It's very important that our body, a global standard-setting body that dictates Islamic finance operations all over the world, A, comes, and then B, allows its full-on support to match the mandate and the approach that these beautiful people in Guidance College are trying to take. So it's a personal honor. Shaukat, Dr. Mann, fantastic. It's been so lovely the last 2 days. As a matter of fact, since it all began, I echo your sentiments, Shaukat. You underestimated, buddy. It is not easy. But look at the results that you've produced. Look at the results, Dr. Main, you guys have produced. I think this has pitched very well. It has pitched very well. Yes, I agree with Dr. Main that we are still in this room talking with each another, but that's, man oh man, in a United States perspective of Islamic finance, this is the right way to go. And as Prof. Kabir said, the quality of information that has been shared including tax evasion strategies. By the way, Robert, I did give you a chit. Do look at the idea of khums, that's the 20% tax, alongside zakah and the agricultural tax. Those have been very, very potent instruments in the whole Islamic arena. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for having IOFI. IOFI is very, very proud and honored. This is what I also said in the press release, to join hands with you, Dr. Maan and Shakir, your team. May Allah bless these endeavors. May Allah allow us all the tawfiq, all the hikmah, all the, istiqamah, to make sure. These are few Arabic words I'm just throwing. I'm showing my fanciness in Arabic. I'm so proud. I'm so honored, and I'm so happy. Just last evening, after the end of the first day, Randa was having an interview with me. I don't know why. She wants to publish my views. So I mentioned that all of a sudden, before I knew it, I'm sort of owning this conference. This has been so surreal, particularly from a United States perspective. I feel as a built-in part of it. So speaks volumes of the hospitality and the arrangements and the easiness and the ukhwa that you guys have created from the time you took me to the dinner. Fantastic dinner that was. It was an exclusive one, so yeah, please. I want to start. Again, these are bright people. I'm just an average, simple-minded guy. I'm just a fly on the wall since the last 2 days, So since you're full of, brilliant, tasty food, so I'm now able to, flap my wings and just come over here. That's it. I'm just a fly on the podium over here. Now, let me start. This is such an important topic. I had to retune it, given the discussions, the title only, not the other items. It says governing and standardizing the value proposition of Islamic finance. Now, if you would notice, I don't know, how many people have read the actual program. My initial title for the keynote, and I'm actually starting with the keynote and combined with the workshop, as a matter of fact. So it's a smart move by Shakir to put less load on me. In this way, I can leverage it in even 90 minutes. So what I did was, it was previously governing, standardizing, and capacity building the new age Islamic finance. So what I've done is I've combined the two things in one. So now I'm saying I'm trying to talk about governing and standardizing the value proposition of Islamic finance. And when you see these words, governing and standardizing, don't go into a 101 definition of I'm going to talk about how to govern a financial system or an Islamic financial system. I can. Or I'm going to tell you why standardization is so important in Islamic finance, blah, 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 blah. I can shove you with this gibberish as much as I can, but no, this governance and this standardization has a different shade to it. And that shade is when I want to talk about, and it's a multi-log that we want to have. It's not a monologue that I'm going to give. And you can prompt me anytime, especially you. Remember the T. So what I'm trying to pitch over here is, guys, this is United States. It's no joke. This is the most freest economy, the most freest country the world has ever seen. If this doesn't work here, don't even think anywhere else. This is the beauty of, having or being in a country that is more freer than what you even expect. I tell you why I say that and why this premise, and this has further gained strength over the last 2 days of discourse. My upbringing in Islamic finance, and I'm talking why United States is important and just trying to evidence what I've just said. My upbringing in Islamic finance, and if I know any bit about Islamic finance, Americans has a huge role to play in that. So it means America has a huge role to play in my understanding or upbringing in Islamic finance. So if you think I have talked 10% sense, give credit to Americans. This is number one. So this is why I think America is very, very important, because a lot of my upbringing, a very, very strong imprint is from American people who are, yes, born in Iran or born in Bangladesh or born in Pakistan and all that, but basically they are Americans, right? So America has, or Americans has a huge influence on my upbringing on Islamic finance. This is number one. Number two, boy, look at the beautiful financial system. You can go crazy over here with innovation. A person like this, Prof. Habib was talking about innovation since it came, and then relating to the question of Kareem. Folks, we have to make sure that we understand this very, very important, very fine difference when we talk about innovation versus renovation. It's very, very important. It's very, very important. Getting a Wi-Fi feature on an ATM card or a credit card, is it innovation or renovation? It's renovation. It's a renovation. It's a renovation. What qualifies as innovation? It's very, very important, because if you know this difference, you solve a huge part of the puzzle. Because sometimes we are trying to talk about or think innovation, but we don't know that this is actually renovation going to happen. Islamic finance is in a very, very good time, especially in a country like America, to tell the people that, guess what, we're going to take forward an innovative approach to Islamic finance. I'll talk about it, what it is. Now, very quickly, I mean, although this is not the topic, but since it came, so I'm just touching point. But remember, I was a fly on the wall listening to everything. So now it's just trying to, recuperate and resuscitate my thinking over here. Now, so next time when you talk about innovation, ask yourself the following. Number one, what qualifies an innovation? It should create a solution that is end-to-end innovative, start till end innovative at both ends. At the surplus side, it's an innovation. At the end side, it's an innovation. It should lead to demonetization. End-to-end innovation. Number two, it should lead to demonetization. It should necessarily lead to decentralization. Full-on decentralization, not half decentralization, or 80% decentralization, or half demonetization, or 80% demonetization, end-to-end. It should lead to democratization. Democratization. It should. And number 5 or 4, it should give birth to new data, aka big data. A data that never existed before, a data that gives you cutting edge over your competitors, a data that has now transformed into a valuable asset. If these 4 or 5 conditions are being met, that to end, you are entering the zone of innovation, be it product development, operations, policy, procedures, Sharia governance, whatnot. You miss this part, no matter where the push is coming from the customer side, from the business side, from the demand side, supply side, blah, 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 your renovation. This is renovation. This is one. I can go into detail, but this is not a topic about that. The other thing that was mentioned, again, coming back to America, and it's sort of, I feel it is a huge, huge opportunity that why America is yet to really taste Islamic finance. It's a huge opportunity because the country fits the bill. The country really does fit the bill. I mean, look at this, for example. I mean, I show you one of the slides. The green goes up, the red goes down. Is this what it is? Cool. Yeah, you have to start. Yeah. Now, I'm going to skip IOFI, what IOFI is. You can even Google stuff. Now, one thing that I want to make sure, I want to re-clarify, when I'm going to pitch this topic right in front of you, I can do a very bad job. It's all right. We're here all to learn, I want to make sure that I pitch it in a way where I'm trying to tell you that whenever we talk about Islamic finance in whatever shape or form, please make sure that you take care of the dignity of Islamic finance. In this case, it's Islamic finance, no matter whatever discipline you are in. Please make sure that whenever you talk about your discipline, do not tarnish or even dare tarnish the dignity of your discipline, because the system will strike back. big time. And no holds bar. So when recently I've become a little more emotional, it gets to my heart, in fact, it cuts me to bones. You can understand when a layman criticizes Islamic finance, and in this case it's Islamic finance, I'm talking about any discipline. You can understand a layman criticizing Islamic finance. It's okay, he doesn't know about anything. Don't take it serious. Yes, he's a concerned party, but is he really that equipped to criticize a booming industry? This is number one. So don't take their concern seriously, but don't take their criticism seriously, because this is below par, not qualified criticism. Number one. What sort of baffles me and makes me a little more emotional and sentimental is the fact that when key stakeholders, be it in whatever position they are, starts criticizing Islamic finance. I like criticism. Criticism is important as long as it's constructive. But that criticism, when it goes to derogatory criticism, bashing criticism, baseless criticism, without understanding the realities criticism, then you're actually attacking the dignity, the integrity of your system. Period. You don't take care of the dignity of your system, others won't. If you bash Islamic finance, a guy like me thinks you don't care about your system. You don't know how to preserve it. Criticize it for the betterment of it, not degrade it, especially when you're trying to sell it to an all-inclusive audience. You have to go in an all-inclusive fashion in your approach where you speak about it. Over the last 2 or 3 years, I have become so touchy about this that when I listen to people, and again, people who are key stakeholders, the decision-making, the policy makers, the academicians, the practitioners, when they go into this bandwagon of criticizing Islamic finance just for the sake of it, or maybe playing by the gallery, it hurts me, because then you're actually degrading, derogatoring, mollifying your own system with your own hands, let alone spreading it. It's very, very important. So when we talk about or understand or listen to Islamic finance or study about Islamic finance, back of the mind, your subconscious should always keep reminding you, I'm studying it or even criticizing it, but I'm not crossing the bar. I'm not going to do so that I start knowingly or unknowingly tarnishing the dignity of my system. That's so, so important. So governing and standardizing and the whole philosophy, the understanding, and when I say standardizing, governing your thought process about Islamic finance, standardizing your understanding about Islamic finance, because if it is governed on solid grounds, if it is standardized on solid grounds, you know what I mean, and you know what this dignity issue is, period. I do not understand people when they criticize Islamic finance, and Yofi is sensitive about it too, luckily. Don't they know that whatever you get as an end result in Islamic finance, be it product or operation, has the approval of top-level Sharia scholars who, when they say something yes to something else, you never question them? Don't you know that whatever comes out of Islamic finance, be it whatever shape or form in product or operations, this has stamp and approvals of the cream of global Sharia scholars who are fuqaha in their field. And it's so easy to start criticizing. If you want to do it, go and reach their level first and then argue. You're in no position to criticize. So if something comes to me and I know that 10 toppest level of Sharia scholars, top of the top Sharia scholars who dictate Islam in the overall world, let alone Islamic finance, has approved this, who am I to question? Who am I to criticize? Period. Take it. If they've done something wrong, they are answerable. You're not going to be questioned about it. But if you're so much into criticizing, then grow at their level. Take a 50-year-old education and experience. Grind yourself another 30 years. Come, Bismillah. Number two, the model of Islamic finance, guys, is no different from the model of overall Islam. If you are bashing unnecessarily Islamic finance so much so that you hit the dignity of it, you're actually hitting the dignity of Islam itself. Because Islamic finance is no different from the overall Islam. It has to be in match. So you have top Sharia scholars backing it. You have a model of Islamic finance that comes properly under the umbrella of overall Islam. What the hell? Why are you bashing it? You understand that, folks? So the next time when you try and bash, I'm all into criticism as long as it's constructive, and it is, But the next time when you start talking about Islamic finance, you want to make sure that you understand the constraint. Number one, know that this is Sharia scholars backed. Number two, know it cannot be any different from the overall model of Islamic finance. It has to be. This is sensitive. And number three, please understand the system constraints. It is not easy to be an Islamic banker or Islamic finance specialist in a world that is hostile to Islamic finance. Politically, strategically, operationally, legally, tax-wise, education-wise, etc., etc., etc. Folks over here were talking about practice of mudarabas and how it's difficult. And ask them, why is it difficult? Why the same Silicon Valley, when they do mudaraba and musharaka, aka venture capital, or angel investing, or crowdfunding, they make a hay out of it, and you just arguing the fact that it's so difficult to do mudaraba because of this, does not make logical sense. Well, where is Silicon Valley, by the way? United States. Wow. This is why, and I tell you, it used to be a hypothesis, but over the last 2 days, I'm now close to reject my hypothesis. United States is the most prone market for a model like Islamic finance to be implemented in a successful way. 4.7 million Muslims, is this the data? 4.7 million Muslims equal to United Kingdoms. 4.7 million Muslims, many GCC countries are half of that. Bahrain, where I come from, is 1.8 million. And that's not 1.8 million Muslims alone. It means non-Muslims included. Total population 1.8. Oman, where I used to be, Muslim population 2.7 million. And there are so many other Muslim countries who are much less in population, Muslims-wise, as compared to United States. And on top of it, they do not have a country that is as open as this country is. I can go crazy in this country. If I talk sense, it'll adopt me. It's so easy to operate. So easy to operate. You just need to talk sense. Remember, pitch Islamic finance, guys, especially when you're talking to even Muslims included, Muslims or non-Muslim. Please, for the first time, when you talk and try and pitch about Islamic finance to all stakeholders, Muslims included, do not directly bring Sharia or Quran into it. It puts people off. Sorry to say, it does, including Muslims. You actually give a sensitive remote control to people. Then they bash you here and there, why 4 wives are allowed, why this is allowed, why this and that. You allowed this. You gave them the remote. Bring Quran and Sharia right at the 100th step, if still needed. Please sell the business model, the value proposition. It's the model that works. Islam is a model for humanity. Prophet Muhammad is for whole humanity, not for GCC or Pakistan or Bangladesh. He's equally for Americans. He's equally for Jews. I was in New York the last time, and I was told, and I was so happy because, man, oh man, I've never seen so many different faces in one place. And I was told, New York alone hosts 150 different nationalities. What? This is amazing. Ideal for a pluralistic society that can really work wonders on the models of Islam/Islamic finance. It's amazing. So much diversity already inbuilt. I know countries where some of them I personally am attached to, they're going crazy bonkers how to diversify their economy. The United States is already diversified. If you want to show the full colors of Islamic model and business-wise, not religion-wise, religion does not need us to prove how many colors it has. You understand that? So, in the United States, and this is why I'm so influenced by United States because most of my Islamic finance imprint, Americans have a huge role to play in that. It fits the bill very well. Why do I say it fits the bill very well? Look at this. We're talking about a new normal world. Look at this. It's a post-COVID world, isn't it? Indeed it is. Is it not a tech and digitally disrupted world? Sure is. Is it not a cyber and cybersecurity prone world? Sure is. Climate change ridden world? Sure is. Renewable energy little world, aka ESG, aka sustainable. And guess what? Multi-planetary world, intergalactic. Now you tell me which country has all of these aspects in the most advanced fashion? United States. No other country. Yes, you talk about China, but man, oh man, look at this bill. See, that directly fits. The resume of United States is so user-friendly, system-wise and openness-wise, and all of these new normal-wise to any model, let alone Islamic finance, if it has sense into it, profitable and otherwise, it would be insane why it would not work. So it's not United States that is to blame, that why it not allowing to accept Islam. This brings me back to the political question. You've asked, it was you asked these burning questions. Buddy, we've dealt with this question 20-odd years ago. We've answered it. But since it is a new audience, so such questions are pretty okay. You can't ask this in GCC because they are far ahead of this, or in Malaysia. But tell you what, again, to my last trip to United States, so from New York, I flew to San Francisco, and I had to give a speech over there, and alongside me was the former undersecretary in the Obama administration, a couple of other economists, Nobel laureates and all that. Joe Stiglitz was there with me as well, and a few other names, I'm forgetting them. Some of these people, I used to read their books, and now I was standing shoulder to shoulder with them. Guess what? When I pitched Islamic finance from a perspective of what it offers business model-wise, people were like honeybees coming to me and asking me, wow, tell us more about it. I still do communication with some of them, updating them and upgrading them what's happening. If you notice, over the last 40 years, all the technological advancement, of course, mainly coming from the United States or Silicon Valley. By the way, Silicon Valley is a classic modern case of Islamic finance. Risk-sharing based finance. I'll come to it, why risk-sharing and Islamic finance have a one-to-one match. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so Silicon Valley. Now, if you look at the last 40 years, even on a face value analysis of all the technological advancement that has really positively transformed the world, what we know as a global village/global hut, you would notice all of these technological advancements Hardly any, if at all, is financed by interest-based debt. All are risk-sharing finance, venture capital-based finance, institutional investors, crowdfunding type of bit. It's all mudaraba, musharaka-driven finances. Talk about Microsoft, talk about Apple, IBM, so many other similar success stories that have really transformed the world the way we know it. If you go and unwrap their financial model, they're all halal finance, which we call as risk-sharing finance. So why wouldn't United States be such a user-friendly, ideal market for such a model to be implemented in a successful fashion? So to me, it's not United States. Perhaps something is wrong somewhere else. I know folks in congressmen who are equally open to such ideas. IOFI has connections in the IMF and World Bank and whatnot that are working with us. And we are helping them vice versa. You talk sense, people listen. If they don't listen in the United States, where else? So we have to be very, 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 open in asking the right questions. Where is the missing link? Somebody was talking again about the difficulties of mudaraba. I know a market. Can I use the word Iran in America? Iran? Is that okay, Robert?
No, not okay.
Even in Biden time, it's not okay? It's double not okay in Biden time. So, yeah. So there is a Arab country, Middle Eastern Persian country, is that all right? Half of Pakistan speak Persian as well. There is a neighboring country to Saudi Arabia. That is fine. That's very neutral. So there is a neighboring country to a huge oil-rich country. That rings the bell. Yeah. Huge oil-rich country. The whole country is fully Islamic financial. Have you ever tried to study that country? The amazing show that they are successfully putting up using mudaraba and musharakas. They have become so advanced in their expertise. You read and study their models. The system has advanced itself so much. Like other banks try and do murabahas, they are funky at doing mudarabas and musharaka, even if they're asleep, in a successful fashion. So I just don't understand when folks say they have the reasons because of system issues, but there is a successful story. Silicon Valley is a huge success story outside Iran or the neighboring oil-rich country, right? So have a look around and you will see what's going on. Now, for Guidance College and for folks who want to up the ante in Islamic finance, here's the prescription. Don't go old style, no. This is 2023 onwards. It's a tech-disrupted word, bracing for climate change. I'll talk about it a little bit more. Going to multi-planetary scenarios, so on and so forth. Do not go old school. You go old school Islamic finance, you miss the bus yet again. Especially in a user-friendly country like United States. Do not go old school. Be inventive, be innovative, be new in your approach. Why? Because you have youth to handle. The quantum of youth, which at least the Muslim world has never seen before. On average, over 60%, 65% of the total Muslim Ummah youth is 64%. Yani, if it's 1.7-ish billion, so it's 64% are youth, on average. Pakistan has over 70%. Oman, 50%. Bahrain is around the same. So on average, Yemen is 70-something. On average, the total Muslim youth population in the total population is 60-something. Well, guess what? They're tech-savvy too. They are the Generation Z. Don't go old school on them. No. It's injustice to them and their aptitude, and injustice to the modern trajectory of Islamic finance. What do you want to do? Yes, you have to govern and standardize the right model of Islamic finance philosophy and underpinnings-wise, but amalgamate it with the new normal world. Amalgamate it that you who are going to come to guidance college, you're going to do masters, but guess what? This Islamic finance master is not an old master's. It's a master that will necessarily guide you and enshrine your hikmah of Islamic finance towards digital Islamic finance. It will guide and enshrine your hikmah of Islamic finance towards climate-friendly Islamic finance, or a cyber-secure Islamic finance, and so on and so forth. Go new school, not old school. Guidance college, for example, and plus, as this slide shows, whatever advancement fintech has done and the way we call it disruptive, guys, I mean, you have to understand, be it angel investing, crowdfunding, P2P lending, venture capital, whatever nomenclature you have it, you're just doing it digitally. This is actually AKA Mudaraba and Musharaka. As a matter of fact, fintech, in a very clever digital manner, in a less transaction cost, more user-friendly manner, is serving the very mandate of the model of Islamic finance. It's very, very important to know that. Of course, you can read these slides. Folks who are going to this new trajectory of Islamic finance, especially Guidance College, and of course, IOFI is all there to assist you all in every way. You want to make sure that all of this digitization has a dark side to it too, and that you call cybersecurity. Things that were never to be imagined before are now just a click of a button away. If you look at some COVID data during the COVID period, did you just notice how much cybercrime increased? Let me show you some numbers. This is other than, look at this. My God, this is IMF reporting on cyber risk 101. Look at the trajectory over here. This is up till 2020. Of course, if you add 3 other more years, this will have a different version to it altogether. Data breaches. It's becoming easy, it's becoming cheap, it's becoming more powerful. Look at, for example, the average IT downtime cost per minute is $5,600 just to IBM, for example. Look at the cost. Just one cyber, even a failed cyber attack, and your website is down by a minute. Look at the costs that it has. These sort of risks, these sort of costs were never seen before. Cyber attack evolution, you can read the slides. Banks in the financial sector are the most prone to cyber attacks. The average cost of cyber crime for financial services is 40% higher than any other sector. You're living in an environment, you're trying to operate in an environment that has this inbuilt features in it. You go old school, sorry, you missed the bus. Financial institutions, including Islamic financial institutions, if they're not going to be cyber hygiene, either they're going to be totally devastated in terms of somebody hacked them and robbed them, or they have just been outdated. Now, if you're trying to understand and educate yourself in Islamic finance, you have to make sure how much that education is linked to the modern trajectory, the new normal trajectory, particularly in a country like United States. As I've shown you, the resume of United States is an ideal match of all of this. What about the climate change? I remember earlier, a couple of decades ago, I think it was Bill Clinton's campaign or what? I mean, they coined the term, it's the economy stupid. Robert, you remember that? It's the economy stupid. Well, guess what? It's the climate change stupid. The lightning is going to strike twice with perpetual thunderbolts. You have cybersecurity to handle. Well, you think that was unmanageable, it appears? Well, guess what? The mother of all risks are coming. Global warming, climate change. You're going to operate an Islamic financial, let alone financial system, an Islamic financial system that is going to be maneuvered, operated, taken care, majority of it by the youth, in a world that is like this. Don't go old school. Don't go old school. You're missing the plot point. I'm just showing you, I mean, I mean, in my days of studying finance and economics, I mean, I used to say the Minsky moment. Now people are talking about the climate Minsky moment. Have anybody heard this term before? The climate Minsky moment. This is what the world has come to. Green swans. Have you heard about green swans? You've heard about black swans, right? Nassim Nicholas Taleb was a friend of mine, and he talked about black swans. Now you have something like green swans. Swans, which are black swans, but they are driven by climate change or global warming or natural disasters. Green swans. Remember, this is a new trajectory of risks as well, because climate change, cybersecurity, you know what kind of risk is it, at least. Of course, assessing them or managing them is a different ballgame, but you know this is the kind of risk. Now, in climate change, the risks become totally new. In a sense, they have dual nature, physical as well as transition risk. Now, physical, you know, I mean, buildings collapsing, disaster, food, etc., agriculture getting affected and all that. You can see them. It's physical. It's happening. People losing lives, whatnot. Transition risks are two kinds. One risk gets by itself or transits by itself to another risk, so you have it giving birth to other risks, so it's transiting from one shape to another. Or B, it is not allowing you enough mental space because it's transiting too fast, so your mind is unable to transit from one point to another point, from one scenario to another scenario. These are called transition risks. I don't want to go into too much detail about climate change, but what I'm trying to build my case is, and by the way, I mean, all of these that you see, the Islamic, the United Nations framework, the Paris Accord, even the COP30 is happening right now, COP28 is happening right now in Dubai next month. The first ever declaration on climate change was done way before the Paris Accord in 2015, was done in Jeddah. So the OIC countries, the OIC Islamic countries, the group of Islamic countries, were so proactive that they were the one who did the first ever climate change declaration. How many of us knew about this? None really. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So go new school. Don't go old school. Of course, I mean, this is more climate change. Now, this is exactly what I mean. So if you do not understand or govern or standardize your upbringing and understanding and implementation of Islamic finance in a framework that preserves the dignity of Islamic finance, you're at an absolutely wrong trajectory. Then it is very easy for anybody who knows a bit more than you to confuse you in an absolutely easy fashion. Now, remember, I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically, any financial system, the promise of any financial, now this is something where I want to go a little more detail on the value proposition of Islamic finance and why it has a little more stability and progression sense as compared to the other system. Remember the basic premise of any financial system. If I want to qualify a financial system, basically, that it is a financial system that I need and it's a stable and a progressive financial system, it should do necessarily two things. Number one, it should provide me the means to earn income or wealth. In the Islamic financial case, you can say it should provide me the halal means of earning income and wealth. And at the same time, it should also allow me to manage all the natural risks that I take while I'm attempting to earn income and wealth from that financial system. If that financial system is doing these two things in a very smooth, stable fashion, that financial system is stable. I don't want to go into detail the issues of the conventional financial system, the interest-based debt financial system, and how it violates these two conditions in a broad daylight fashion, because this is not the time. But remember, even if Islamic finance, if I want to qualify Islamic finance that it is a better alternate to the interest-bearing debt finance, I want to make sure that these conditions are met by the Islamic financial system better than the other system. If it's not, go back to the system or bring a third option. Of course, course, you know what a bank is. It's basically intermediary. I mean, it takes money and then gives away money to the deficit unit, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't want to go into detail. But question is, why do we need Islamic finance? You have to understand it from a very, very important angle. Sometimes folks miss it. From the risk or the financial risk angle or the financial management angle, folks. Remember these two things. Our system, if I want to qualify it as a stable, progressive system, it should do these two things necessarily. Number one, it should allow me to earn income in a halal way. And number two, while I'm trying to earn that income, it should allow me the protocols to manage all the risks attached to that income. This is why, to understand the better aptitude of Islamic finance, you have to understand it from the risk perspective. Now, simply put, what is risk? Any event carrying more than one outcome is a risky situation. Is it not? The moment any event gives you more than one outcome, you are in risk. Now you tell me something. Anything that you think while you're a human being in this world that is fast eroding, that's why people are trying to shift to Mars. Anything that you do or commit to as a human being on this planet Earth does not have more than one outcomes. Is there anything you can think of as a human being that you attempt to do and it does not have more than one outcomes? So for example, the easiest example, I decide to get down this stage. Do I have more than one outcomes? I can go down in a very smooth fashion. I can trip. I can fall. Stage can collapse. There's so many permutations and combinations. So isn't it a fact that while we are humans living in a very fragile world that is fast eroding, given the reasons I've just catalyzed the erosion, you're always living in a risky situation. Always. 24/7. Always in a risky situation. You're always facing more than one outcomes. Of course, folks who are familiar with Quran provides a very compelling explanation of why Allah has created, or God has created, a situation for humans that they're always surrounded by more than one outcomes / risks. Of course, if you read Quran, even if you're not a follower of Islam, but even if you read Quran, it as a book that explains the raison d'etre of risks, you will understand that if I do not have at any point of the time more than one outcome, and if the outcome becomes only one, then my capacity or as a human being goes out of the window. My capacity to be tested, my capacity to see myself how tenacious I am, my capacity to see my all colors, if I'm not challenged as a human being, I cannot survive. For me to be challenged, for me to be survive, and for me to live my full potential, in Islam or in Quran, there is a word called ashraf. Ashraf. Ashraf means the best. Ashraf al-makhluqat. We human beings are the best of creation. How to live that best? If that best is we are only able to live that best unless we are challenged. If we are not challenged, risks challenge us. So Quran says, I have created this dual nature, more than one outcome situation for you so that you prosper. You take the risk. You are not going to go to the glass of water. You will not drink water. You have to go there. You know that you have legs. Use them. You have voice. Speak. Challenge yourself. I'm at a risk right now after the workshop. Who knows, I get a sore throat. It's a risk. It's a health risk. Financial planner. After we can talk about it. Get a throat insurance. Cool. I like him. So yeah. So Quran tells you, in order to test your anti-fragility, humans are anti-fragile. You know the meaning of anti-fragile? There is fragile, then there is robust, and then there is anti-fragile. Fragile means easy to break. If I put pressure, it breaks. A cookie, it's fragile. It's very fragile. Robust, It looks very solid, but if I increase pressure, it'll break. It still breaks, depending on the pressure I put on it. Less fragile. Let's say robust is less fragile. Anti-fragile is something amazing. Anti-fragile is the more pressure I put on it, the more stronger it gets. Human body. Who goes to gym? Shagar. You go? I once tried to go to gym in Oman. You do. I expected that. I once tried to go to gym in Oman because I was emotionally blackmailed by my wife. So I paid, in dollar terms, I paid almost $2,000 for a huge fancy gym membership. It has yoga and it has dance classes and karate and all the fancy stuff you can imagine in a proper gym. I went there for maximum 10 days. I couldn't manage. So then I convinced her, consider that money that has gone as charity. So, human body is the best example of anti-fragile species. The more pressure you put on muscle, the more stronger you become. Former governor of California, known for his muscle power. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hollywood star, ex-governor, California. You understand? Arnold Schwarzenegger? I'll be back. Remember that? Right, yeah. Terminator, 3, 2, 1. No? Yeah, come on. No Hollywood. Okay, so anti-fragile. I need a financial system that is anti-fragile. I need a financial system that suits my anti-fragility because I'm anti-fragile. So anything that I want, in this case a financial system, it should match my fitrah or my creation. It should be anti-fragile. The more pressure I put on it, internally, or it comes from climate change or cyber or whatever, or war, it becomes anti-fragile. It allows me all the mechanics to manage those risks. Only then I will be allowed to live my ashrafness. You got my idea? So I'm looking for an anti-fragile system that suits my inbuilt anti-fragility. If any system can, and how do I know that system is anti-fragile? Because I live in a risky situation. According to Quran, the risks are created for me to live and explore my anti-fragility so that I can prove that yes, I'm the best of creation and I can achieve stuff that no other creation can do. Even jinn cannot do that. Angels cannot do that. This category is only for us. So I need a system that is equally anti-fragile, and no matter what happens to that system, internally or through extrinsic factors, that system has enough anti-fragile risk absorption capacity that it allows me to perform the item number 2. It allows me to manage the risks that I will take in earning that halal income. Other than that, there is no other way. And this is AKA Quran telling you about. So question arises, why risks exist? I've just explained why risk exists to have you explore your ashrafness / anti-fragility. But this is a very, very important slide, folks. When you talk about risks, you have to understand, please. Give me a break. You have to understand what kind of risks you are talking about. There are 2 kinds of risks: natural, unnatural. If I want to prove my or live my anti-fragility / ashrafness, it has to be natural risk taking, because natural risks makes me anti-fragile. I have to take the risk to achieve an outcome that has upgraded me in some shape or form. Unnatural risks are man-made. For example, in a very simple example, driving a car. Is it a natural risk or an unnatural risk? So the other day we went to downtown. The distance was so huge. Did we ever talk about let's walk there? We didn't. So we had to get an automobile. So we had to take that risk. So in that position, that point, driving a car or being in a moving car, is it a natural risk or an unnatural risk? Driving a car, natural or unnatural? It's a natural risk. Why? Because I have to do it to move from point A to point B. That's 20 miles down the road. That too in Texas weather. Or a GCC weather, that's 50 degrees. Driving a car. In this case, this is something I have to take. Otherwise, I can't achieve the outcome. I can walk. You think walking is less riskier than driving a car? In that situation, then walk 20 miles. Get hit by a fast-moving truck or a car. You never know. On that way, by the way, on that way to the dinner, on the highway, there was an accident. You understand that? So that risk materialized for a few people. Allah protect us. So the definition of a natural risk, guys, is it is a risk that I have to take no matter what. I cannot deny it. So in this case, driving a car, I had to do it. So the risk of driving became a natural risk for me because I had to take it. I cannot do anything about it. But what about if I drive the same car, I'm already taking natural risk, but I start driving it with my eyes closed? What just happened? Whose fault? Natural risk's fault or the eyes closed fault? Closing the eyes, I added a huge layer of unnatural risk that I could have avoided. Getting me, Robert? There was one risk I had to take. And it can be any consequence. Because I can still get hit by someone or I can hit someone in whatever shape or form. I had to take it. But on top of it, I was driving more than the speed limit. On top of it, I was crossing the red light. On top of it, I didn't have a license to drive. Was this natural risk or unnatural risk? So if a bad outcome happened, was it due to natural risk or the huge chunk of unnatural risk that I took? It was unnatural risk. Could I avoid unnatural risk? I could open my eyes. Risk does not exist. Follow the traffic rules. Risk does not minimizes. Get a license. Meaning to say, unnatural risks are man-made. They can easily be avoided. Open your eyes. You don't need to manage them. Risks that cannot be avoided, risks that are necessary for you to take and explore your anti-fragility and ashrafness, because you can't avoid them, guess what? You manage them. Unnatural risks, they don't exist. You create them instantly. You don't manage them, you avoid them. Just open your eyes, they're no more. This is the sort of risk understanding for any financial system that you need to have. And if any financial system that keeps me necessarily in the zone of natural risk-taking and then allows me to explore my anti-fragility and ashrafness, and at the same time allows me its anti-fragility so that it allows me to manage those natural risks on my way of earning wealth and income in whatever shape or form, this is the system I want. Collateralized debt obligations. Natural risk or unnatural risk? Subprime crisis. The hit the world took was due to natural financial risk or unnatural financial risks? Simple as that. So you don't blame the financial sector. You blame your own unnatural risk-taking that you said. The issue was that financial sector in which you're riding on, they didn't have the anti-fragility to it. So the moment you started taking unnatural risk, because that was a fake anti-fragile system, it collapsed and you got a hit. So it was a double comedy of a unnatural system, risks-wise, / a fake anti-fragile system, which appeared anti-fragile, and you tried to tame its anti-fragility. by Basel III, Basel IV, even Basel 22, we'll see. And on top of it, you are shoving it with extra layers of unnatural risk through these funky quant-driven products. Black-Scholes, what's that risk that actually was so common? These rating agencies were doing it. What's that risk? What? Oh my God, how do I? That was the V value, or what was it? Yeah, something like that. It's just complete. These quantified mathematical crazy models, quants coming to financial sector, it's a red alert. When quants go to financial, they should go to NASA. What are you doing in financial sector? I mean, I like quants, I like mathematicians, but go do your job where you need it more. People are trying to go to Mars, go Elon Musk, go wherever. He'll give you a good job, good pay. Quants coming into financial, there was a paper that was done by BIS, Bank of International Settlement, and they actually beautifully quantified. And they said, in whatever system where the quants entered the financial sector more, that system collapsed. It's a paper. It's still in my laptop. Anybody wants it, just send me an email. Yeah, sure. So the more quants enter the financial, and these mumbo-jumbo, models and formulas and gibberish that, the scary symbols that you see in name of risk management models, buddy, you're trying to manage a risk that should not be managed. It should be avoided. Your target is wrong. Apply a Black-Scholes model to a natural risk. But guess what? You can't, because natural risk management does not need a Black-Scholes model to manage it. It is much more easier to manage. So your education trajectory, your formation trajectory, your upbringing trajectory, you can be a graduate from Harvard and whatnot, but your trajectory in understanding risks and then trying to find mathematical probability estimation-based solutions to manage an unnatural risk, it's a model built for collapse. Nobody told you, buddy, this risk does not exist. Why are you trying to manage it? But guess what? There are courses available, books over books available to tell you how to manage a risk that should not be there. You understand that? I'm sorry, it's boring, but you have to. So this is one. Somebody talked about new institutional economics. I'm not sure. I think it was Professor Habib who talked about new institutional economics, or it was Prof. Kabir. I don't remember exactly, but this again brings me back to this beautiful, fantastic land, America. Man, oh man, what have you done? It's a zulm that Islamic finance is yet to prosper or gain traction in Islamic finance. And of course, IOFI and Gardens College are now going to up the ante, inshallah. Now, there was a study that was done in new institutional economics. He's not a direct supervisor for me, but again, American. So he was a friend of my supervisor, so we actually became friends there's a book called 6 Degrees of Separation. So if I want to know any stranger, between me and him are 6 connections, 6 people. It can be the third person who can get to know, who can introduce me to that person, or maximum 6. I need 6 people in between to reach you, no matter where I'm sitting, called 6 Degrees of Separation. In this case, it was 1 degree of separation because he was a huge friend of my supervisor, both Americans. And they did a paper. Actually, we were trying to do something on new institutional economics and trying to see semblance of how Islamic finance and new institutional economics are going hand in hand in so many ways. Now, new institutional economics says that the moment any country has a stronger institutional infrastructure, the legal system is strong, the tax system is strong, the government system is strong, all of these, institution does not mean a building. Institution means rules of the game. Interest-based debt system, it's an institution. It's a rule to do certain financial system. So when I say institution, does not mean it's a building. It means the rule, the very premise of doing something. Taxation is an institution, not the building, but taxation itself. Legal system, legality, arbitration is an institution, not what Supreme Court or the other courts do. They are a building, but what happens is inside this is an institution of justice. So this study, or this new institutional economics, submits that, the more stronger any institution, or the overall institutional architecture in a country is, the better its chances to progress. So for example, you compare Somalia versus United States. Of course, there's no comparison, but just for the sake of the example, even though Somalia is underdeveloped as compared to America, economic theory says in the right fashion that rate of return to capital would be much more in an underdeveloped sector as compared to a developed sector. So for example, according to this theory, if I want to generate more profit, I should invest my capital in Somalia because there's so much room to operate in there. I can charge anything. But if I bring my capital and get it invested in America, because it's so developed already, I have to do something totally new to get return out of it. And that too less than Somalia, because the rules of the game and the development is so vast, the competition is so much, I can't generate the same return. But yet, if I get a chance to invest my money, I'll still go to the United States, even though I know the rate of return to my capital will be much less as compared to Somalia. Why? Because I trust the institutions over here. I know it has a better institutional infrastructure as compared to Somalia. This is exactly what new institutional economics says in a simple version. New institutional economics says that if you want to grow and progress better, make sure you have the right set of institutions, stronger institutions. Otherwise, it will be a kick in the neck, kick to the coconut, always. So what's happening over here is these folks actually use new institutional economics and did a very interesting model of checking the economic Islamicity of 206 countries, Muslim and non-Muslim included, Islamic or non-Islamic included. And guess what? What they did was they crystallized certain important rules that are common to each economy. A greater justice, higher moral standards, honesty and trust in marketplace, poverty eradication, more even distribution, no hoarding, no affluence, no exploitation. All of these are very common economic rules. And they tested these are all institutions, by the way. And they tested these institutions on 206 countries. This is back in 2015-16, this is the study. And guess what? And they labeled this that these are actually rules of Islamic economic system. See how universal they are? I don't even need to call it Islamic because America is following it much more than any Islamic country. And America is no Islamic, it's a secular country. This is why it's so ideal. The country's resume is so ideal for something like Islamic finance to shape up. Now, look at what happened over here. This is the overall Muslim states. The average ranking of Muslim states was 133 out of 206 countries that are supposed to follow all of these Islamic economic rules better in theory as compared to non-Muslim states. The average ranking of Muslim states were 133. The closest was Malaysia, number 33 in the overall ranking. But look at, for example, Saudi Arabia, which is considered to be the Kaaba of Muslim countries, very oil-rich. It has a neighboring country that I can't name. 91. Ranking is 91 on the Islamicity index, following the rules of Islamic economics, very generic rules. Pakistan, oh, it's a heartbreaker. 145. Wow. Where's Bangladesh? Let me check. It's too much Bangladesh influence in this room. Where is it? Wow, note so far. We are brothers. Cool. Yeah. Where's Bahrain, where I come? 61. Wow, better. Bahrain is 61. Okay. This is the state of Muslim countries following Muslim economic rules. But guess what? What's happened to non-Muslim countries? Oh, wow. The first country to rank number 1 in the list was Ireland. Nothing to do with Islam. Denmark, Luxembourg, Sweden, UK, New Zealand, Singapore, which United States, number 15, not bad. Not bad. If you want to implement Islamic finance, implement it in these countries because they have strong institutional architecture in line with Islamic principles. If you are unable to do that with such openness available, man, oh man, I feel more open over here. Let me say, be very honest over here. I feel more open here operating and walking and living as compared to Pakistan, for example. I'm being very blunt over here. Whoa, is this being recorded or going live? Oh no. Situation in Pakistan is pretty sensitive these days, so, yeah. Pakistan is a beautiful country, and it's fake. It's absolute fake. They have to check their numbers. They missed a lot of data points. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and then you're talking about rules. So, but even though, for example, a country like United States, who's ranking 15 in following these beautiful institutional rules that are AKA also Islamic economic institutional rules, yet, these Muslim countries never give birth to any financial crisis, but some of these beautiful countries are always giving birth to bigger and bigger and bigger financial crises. What's going on? They're following the rules of economics better than Muslims. Their institutional architecture is strong, yet they're the center of global financial crisis. What is going on? What's missing? The only thing, and I'm being very simplified over here, just pressing for time, the only thing that is happening over here is their financial system, institution of the financial system is missing the important plot point. Their financial system, despite all of these fantastic institutional infrastructure, strong institutional infrastructure, massive openness, you can go crazy in innovation over here, beautiful country, open country, democratic country. I can even walk bare naked in this country. Nobody will bother about that. I've seen stuff happen over here. And, okay, now, disclaimer, I just want to say because it's just, now when I traveled San Francisco, and my speech was scheduled on 3rd of July, and there was an event on 2nd of July. Anybody knows what happens in 2nd of July? It was gay parade. So I saw stuff that, only America can do. You see? This is how open the country is. A bit more open, a bit too open. So, yeah, it was too much. So, so if such a country allows you this kind of liberty with such institutional structure, the only thing this country is missing and hence keeps on giving birth to financial crisis, the scale and scope is increasing with time, is that the institution, the model of financial sector perhaps needs to be revisited. Because at the root of it, every time financial crisis has happened, be it whatever quantum, it has always been debt-driven financial crisis. Isn't it so, Robert? You understand that? So while they're following all the other institutional rules better than Muslim countries, you don't even need to call it Islamic because they are so universal. But still, despite all of this development and openness and whatnot, these are the countries that give rise and birth to financial crisis, shape and scale that is increasing and quantifying every time. The only premise is there's a major rule non-compliance going on, and that is the absence of risk sharing in the system. Notice, I said absence of risk sharing. I didn't say that the system is based on riba or interest. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? It's an Islamic finance conference. Riba is a darling word for all of us, or no riba, or no interest. But I haven't yet used the word riba, or no interest. Have you heard me do that? Even in this main statement is major rule non-compliance is the violation, i.e. the absence of risk sharing. Because this is the value proposition of Islamic finance. All it asks you to do, you're in a fragile world. You're a fragile being. But I've made you anti-fragile to live in a fragile world that is 24/7 giving you more than one outcomes, i.e. a risky world. Don't change risks into uncertainty and uncertainty into ambiguities and you hit the wall. Keep yourself in a risky situation. This is enough for you to prove your anti-fragility and live your ashrafness as best among creation. Let me help you by giving you natural risks. Do not venture into the territory of driving and then shutting your eyes and creating an unnatural risk. Because if you get hit, it hurts me to see you hurt. Because I know what you're capable of. What you did, this is not what I made you for. Don't blame me because you're facing crisis. Check your own collar first. Check your own sleeves first. Who knows? Something wrong is there somewhere. But guess what? I am giving you a solution. You are following 10 million other institutions in an absolutely professional manner. What's wrong over here? All I am telling you, interact, do financial stuff with each another because you're supposed to do, and I've made you anti-fragile. Please, at the back of it, have an anti-fragile financial system too. And guess what? How you're going to have it. The prescription is to run that financial system, please base it on risk sharing. Because the moment you have risk sharing in the system, the next thing, interest will automatically move out of the system. Because either risk sharing stays or interest stays. Two things cannot stay at the same time because they're so anti each another. You introduce interest, you take out risk sharing. You introduce risk sharing, you take out interest. Simple as that. The basic value proposition of Islamic finance, folks, is not no riba, please. It is risk sharing. No riba is an ethic to do risk sharing. For example, for me to be a safe driver, I must have a license to drive. I must know the traffic rules. I must know what red light means, what green light means. Well, in Japan, they have blue lights. So in Japan, I must know what a blue light means. So no riba, in Arabic we say it's one of the important ikhlaq of doing smooth risk sharing. In one of the important necessity or a pillar or a ethic to do risk sharing genuinely and smoothly. No gharar. Know this, know that. All of these no's are the licenses that allows you to become a smooth, safe driver when you're implementing and driving risk sharing in the system. That's not the main thing. What Islamic finance has done is it has, theoretically at least, understood and turned the system upside down. It made the license important, driving least important. I'm getting a license for what? For driving. You don't even know driving. It's the driving that needs to be focused. The main law, the mother law, is risk sharing. All you need to do is introduce more risk sharing in the system. You're back to natural system, an anti-fragile system, because risk sharing system has that anti-fragility that matches your anti-fragility, and as a result, allows you to perform the two basic tasks. Earn your income, and at the same time, from that financial system, get a support that allows you to manage those natural risks while earning that income. If you're not doing that, who was talking yesterday? There was a bunch of discussion about zero interest rate and all that. Japan used to have zero interest rate. We just moved from a situation where we had negative interest rates. Still crises were happening. Zero interest rate is no solution, folks. Negative interest rates is even worse, is no solution, folks. I can have zero interest rate, but if I don't still have risk sharing in the system, it doesn't make sense. It's a much worse situation. At least with interest, somebody was getting income. It beats me when people say zero interest. becomes Islamic. Well, where is risk sharing then? Zero interest or interest. Without risk sharing, either interest or zero interest stays, or even negative interest stays, or risk sharing stays. It has to be one or the other. It can't be two. So you can say no to interest, but you're not saying yes to the main thing. You're at a standstill. You're moving in circles. And then saying Islamic finance is not ideal. That's why it's not ideal. Because you've forgotten the main law. You're looking at the sufficient items. Is my license there? Am I dressed properly? Is it red? Is it green? Man, oh man, green for what? You understand that? So these are the things that you need to understand, that the simple tweaking that you need to do in a conventional system. Let me use the biblical language. You just need to baptize the conventional system by, dipping it into the water of risk sharing. That's all, the holy water of risk sharing. That's it. This is what Islamic finance asks. Do whatever you want to do. Create these mumbo-jumbo quantified products, as long as they are carrying the momentum and the essence of risk sharing in them. No wonder Silicon Valley is so anti-fragile that even in the crisis time, in the subprime crisis time, it was still growing. The top salary earners were still coming from Silicon Valley, while the rest of the world was losing jobs. No wonder these blue chips, you go and look at their model back, their classic risk-sharing finance. Somebody invested in their idea, IPO, you get out and become $1 billion. These days they call it unicorns. For financial planning, if your financial planning is hinged and based on risk-sharing, whatever, inheritance laws and all that, because each and every contract, be it wealth-creating contract, be it wealth management contract, be it insurance contract, be it wealth distribution or redistribution contracts in Islamic finance, are at base risk-sharing among society. I can have zero interest rate, but if I don't have risk-sharing, system is still the same, much worse. As I mentioned, at least a positive interest is somebody's earning, even though haram, but still, somebody's tummy is getting full. So these are those things that you have to reframe. And and for United States, for example, this is such an opportunity, folks. This is such an opportunity, such a beautiful country, such an open country with a heavy, heavy resume that matches the modern new normal world. Muslims or non-Muslims, all inclusive. I think we have to do something in the United States because this country should pick up this model. Sell it from the risk-sharing part, not from the Quran part. It makes sense to me and you, but it does not make sense to all. Bring the Quran part right at the end. Maybe you may even not need it. Who knows? The risk-sharing mantra was so successful that you hardly had to talk on religious grounds. I'm telling you, you may not even... In San Francisco, the discussions I still have, I'm yet to bring Islam in it, even via emails. Yet to bring Islam in it. We are just talking. Europe, when it was struggling in the COVID situation and economy was in shambles, especially the SME sector, which is 60% of even the United States, is 60% of the backbone of the economy. They were thinking of bringing risk sharing in the system. Silicon Valley is a modern example of how risk sharing is helping the system thrive. If you go back to history, I don't know if it's the right place to quote over here or not. Germany, back in the time of Hitler, post-World War I, when Germany was totally devastated, destroyed, and people were burning bags full of currency notes to make themselves warm in winter, and building collapsed here and there. In just 10 years, it became so powerful from 35 to 45 that it started World War II. What happened? What happened in those 10 years? so many things. One of the things, if you look at the economic and financial model, the economy was forced to do mudaraba and musharaka. I'm just giving you an 80 years old example. Look at that if somebody, there's a colleague of mine back in my PhD days, she did a thesis on that part, on that 10 years. I've asked her to email the thesis to me because it's a wonderful work. She went to Germany, she knew German, so she went back to Germany, spent time over there, explored libraries. Yeah, she did. The people still do that. So she came up with something that cemented this premise, that economic and financial model to fund their progression and became so powerful that they started World War II in 45. All they relied on predominantly was mudarabas and musharakas. I don't want to go back more in the history because it's awash with examples. The anti-fragility it brings to the financial sector, hence the gains, individually and society and economy-wise. Rules of Islamic economics, as I've mentioned, is so when you talk about the definition and the dignity of Islamic finance, you know where it comes from. It's the risk-sharing qanun or the law that drives it. As I mentioned, al-bay is necessary, no riba is a sufficient condition, but the current model of Islamic finance, because I believe that there is a presence of this cognitive deficiency and cognitive dissonance that has led to this misunderstanding of this model where no riba has become a focus and the main thing is right out of the window, still waiting and knocking the door when people will become aware of it. I've given you historical examples, Silicon Valley examples. Look at the technological advancements, IBM, Apple, Microsoft, all of these stuff, what they have done, classic risk-sharing financing. Again, oftentimes there is another misunderstanding, again, a cognitive deficiency and dissonance among stakeholders is they always translate al-bay as trade, buy and sell. Is it really buy and sell or trade? No, it's not. It's exchange of property rights. At the base of it, you're exchanging property rights. If I call something my property, how do I know it is in my ownership and it's my property? I can call this my property, but how do I know? How do you know this is my property? If you come and pick it up and try and destroy it, my reaction will tell you if this is my property or not. If I attack you, if I stop you, straight away, yes, it is his property. Why? Because when I own something, all the natural risks that are attached with this property are my risk. Risk of loss, risk of damage, risk of getting stolen, etc., etc., etc. All of these risks and the costs and consequences attached to those natural risks come directly to me. So this becomes my full ownership. Because of this natural risk-taking, to call this as my ownership, I am eligible to ask a gain or extra gain because of that risk-taking when I come and sell it to you. What is your risk-taking? The money in your pocket. You used to go to office every day. You used to take driving risk, taxes, highways risk, weather risk, elevator risk, getting off the stairs risk, waking up, not even eating breakfast, health risk, going to a washroom, number of deaths. If you look at data, number of people die are in washroom, so many deaths. So many people die by slipping in the washroom. May Allah protect us. So you're taking 1,000 risks, and at the end of the day, every month, your salary gets transferred. To earn that few bucks, look at the amount of risk you took, which you couldn't avoid, all natural. So when me as a seller who owns this with my risk-taking, and you as a buyer who has your money with your risk-taking, meet, our risk-taking should match. This is how we will agree to buy and sell. If I think this price is too high, it means actually this does not match my risk-taking. Or if I think it's too cheap, as a seller, I'll say this does not match my risk-taking. So there has to be a marriage of convenience. The moment you and I agree This property and the risks of that property goes to you. The money and the risks of that property comes to me. It's an exchange of property rights happening. It's called risk exchange, risk sharing. I shared your risk, you shared my risk. You understand that? It's a complete sales contract. This is what murabaha basically is. In a murabaha, the same thing, if I tell you my original price plus the margin, the same sale becomes murabaha. If I don't tell you anything and we negotiate, the same sale, the same transaction of risk sharing and property rights exchange becomes musawama. And so on and so forth. Just bring risk sharing in the system. The moment you bring risk sharing in the system, interest automatically will go out. You don't even need to do anything about it. You don't need to touch it. It will go out by itself. This is why sell Islamic finance in America from its value proposition, the model it brings, because it allows me the anti-fragility to do the two main tasks of any financial stable system. If not, I'm missing the point. The moment I sell Islamic finance from a no riba perspective, or straight jacket into a religious perspective, I put systems off, especially when systems are hostile in so many ways and forms. Not saying hostile politically, because again, the beauty of this country is if you frame it well, you can sell it. People are there fed. It allows you few regulations because you were able to sell it. I know a few Congress people. IOFI knows, as I mentioned, I think it was Dr. Main. He was so right. We are so bad at lobbying. Why? Because our standardization and governance to understand Islamic finance was so flawed, full of cognitive deficiencies and dissonance, we had to be bad at lobbying it. If you're clear from here, good lobbying becomes automatic. You don't need an army of people to go and lobby and train how to lobby. No, it comes from here because you have faith and understand it clearly. The clarity of your thought process make it half easy for the other person to understand you. Rest is just autopilot stuff. So also be a little bit patient too, because sometimes we want results too quickly. I don't expect after this conference, even when tying up with IOFI, in 1 year time you will be able to turn the tables. No, sir. You have to be realistic. 10 years, 15 years, that should be your goal. Be realistic. In America, it should be much more faster because how beautiful the system is. You're getting the idea. Bangladesh, for example, 30%. It's a secular country too. It's not an Islamic country. Constitution says it's a secular country. Yes, majority Muslim, but still a secular country. So, I think, we have to do a lot more in terms of framing Islamic finance. Well, it has other beautiful rules that sort of provide other support to run the system. And remember, for those who are Muslims, we have agreed to implement such a system with Allah already before we were sent into this world by signing a contract we call mithaq. Quran talks about mithaq. It has 2 words. What are the 2 words when Quran talks about contracts? Aqd? Ahad is not aqd. Aqd or uqud, plural, or mithaq. What's the difference? What is the difference between these ayat of Quran, these verses, Robert, of Quran carries that information about mithaq? What's the difference between aqd, a contract? Arabic word of contract is aqd. And then there is another word called mithaq. What do you think? So let me say, the contract of nikah, aqd of nikah or mithaq of nikah? It doesn't have to do with financial. It does, but it's still not a straitjacket financial contract. It's a social contract, please. It's a social contract. Marriage is a social contract, not a financial contract. Yes, it has mahar and this and that. These are extra facilities. It's a financial contract? But do you call it aqd or mithaq? Aqd. Aqd. The word is aqd.
Agreement between two parties and with consent based on transparent understanding of the
Still an aqd.
that's aqd.
There's still an aqd. That's what I'm saying, you have already agreed to implement a risk-sharing based system with a contract that you have signed with Allah. That contract has its own clauses. Things that you're supposed to do and things that Allah is supposed to do. Masalan, for example, one clause, one only. Under that mithaq is the following. In simple words, aqd versus mithaq is between humans, two funny creations. Two fragile creations. It can be a social contract, financial, etc. Between two humans, mu'amalat. You do it with uqud, oral or written. Quran says better written. The longest verse of Quran is on importance of contracts. In that longest verse, mithaq is not used. Aqd. Using debt contract as an example. Mithaq is a primordial nature. It has to be between either two ghair fani stuff, or at least one party has to be ghair fani, or anti-fragile, or immortal, for example.
Not necessarily because the Quran is still referred to the aqd al-nikah as a mithaq. It said, وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا, referred to aqd al-nikah. So it could be, in some cases,
It does, depending on the context as well, yes. This is why I'm just trying to be very simple over here. I'm sure you're right. But I'm just trying to pitch it in a very simple way. Yeah. Look at the context. Why not aqd of Medina? Why? Ask yourself, why mithaq of Medina? Why not aqd? Because the contextual relationship it has and the impact it carries. But in Pakistan, we have called mithaq of democracy. Misaq-e-Jamhuriyat. What the hell was that? Such a misaq that was broken every day. So, in Oman, there is a bank called mithaq. I tell them, do you actually know the heaviness of this word? Understand? So, mithaq, simply put, is a contract that we sign between Allah and ourselves before we are sent back to this very trivial, funny, fragile world. There are so many conditions between us and Allah in that mithaq. One of them is, Allah says, in that mithaq, rizq min Allah. I will be your sustainer. Go out there, don't worry about it. I will give you sustenance. What's the counter condition? Thank you very much for being so generous. Guess what? Once we go there, we will make sure we follow your rules and earn the same system by following your qanoon in a halal, not only halal, halal tayyib manner. We have agreed to this in mithaq. We have agreed to do financial system or financial transactions through al-bay', through risk sharing. We have agreed to it. So who's at a miss? Who's at a miss? We didn't agree, okay, I will go and make sure that the financial system gets predominantly based on no riba. No, I agreed that yes, I will make sure it's financially predominantly based on risk sharing with no this, with no this, with no this. That's the sort of cognitive deficiency. So we have agreed to this system. Halal type, somebody was talking about halal. I think Prof. Kabir hit the nail on the head when he said that you eat halal chicken, but do you actually know that is it financed halal way or not? You have to look at the complete cycle of halalness. Half cycle, yes, is good, but halal does not become halal tayyib if the full cycle is not complete. So if I have the same chicken financed in a risk-sharing manner, aka halal, aka Islamic finance, and at the same time it is slaughtered in a halal manner, my whole basic cycle of halalness complete. That's a halal tayyib cycle. You understand? I'm just being very simple. This is not the topic. We can talk hours on this. So basically, the organizing principle is this. You have to understand the system. Please, again, do not bash Islamic finance. out of context and not knowing the reality. This is not an easy job to be an Islamic finance expert, aka banker, takaful expert, and whatnot, even a regulator or an IOFI guy. No, sir. It is hard, believe me. You get criticized, you get oftentimes abused. Sharia scholars, they were sitting very cozy in their dressing room. Now, anybody can go and tell them, Falan didn't give a right verdict, or Falan didn't give a right verdict. First of all, who are you? You understand that? So it's very challenging. Look at the system, path dependency, over-reliance on debt-based system, presence of interest-based macroeconomic policy. Man, oh man, you want me to become a pure Islamic finance, mudaraba and musharaka banker, and macroeconomic policy are based on interest rate. I have to follow LIBOR. That's my benchmark. What else do I do? You tie up my hands, you tie up my legs, throw me in the swimming pool and say you're not swimming well. You kidding me already? Or, as Einstein said, you're judging a fish by how good it climbs a tree, not how good it swims. An absolute, mess of situation. These are those challenges, lack of government participation, no capital markets, money market, etc. Transaction costs, guess what, remember, this is a world that you're operating in. This is the America that you're operating in. Guidance College, this is the America that you're operating in. A post-COVID, digitally disrupted, cyber-prone, climate change-ridden, renewable energy focused, and an intergalactic America that you're operating in. You want to bring in Islamic finance and up the ante, awareness-wise, education-wise, model-wise, implementation-wise, credit unions-wise, whatever. Please make sure that this is the CV of United States, the resume of United States. You have to match your model with this. Don't go old school. Don't go old school. You need a new fiqh that matches this resume to introduce and upgrade Islamic finance traction in the United States, a country that should ideally match for such traction. You need a bit of macroeconomic policies that are friendly to Islamic finance or risk-sharing finance. And of course, your understanding and the governance of your understanding and the standardization of your understanding should be premised on this, ensuring that you preserve the dignity of this. It's very, very important. And focus creating on knowers, focus on creating less knowers and more believers and visionaries in Islamic finance. It's very, very important. You know the difference between a knower, believer, and visionary? Right now, the market is awash with people who are implementing in Islamic finance, but who are just knowers they know about Islamic finance. Knowing Islamic finance is not enough. Go deep, believe in it. The new fiqh, for example, the new fiqh of Al-Bay'ah, for example. Produce young scholars like you, my brother Kareem, should focus on doing this bit. Sell the fiqhi perspective of why Al-Bay'ah is more anti-fragile in a modern manner, with the fact that you're going to operate in this kind of world, Pakistan included. You understand that? So it's very, very important. Branding and lobbying. If you're a believer and you're a visionary, you're a brander. You're a lobbyist, automatic, period. But if you're a knower, try 50 years, people will not listen to you. Maybe folks who tried to take Islamic finance forward, not all, but some of the key folks who could have lobbied didn't do enough. Who knows? Easy to say, but who knows? As an outsider, this is what it may appear. Maybe they were trying a lot more things and trying, a lot hard. They were trying everything, but maybe they were knowers. At the base of it, maybe they were not believers of vision. Who knows? So something is at miss. It's not United States. It's something else. So about IOFI, this is why what we are trying to do in IOFI, we are trying to get these things straight. We do this, one of the prime premier way to do this. And this is exactly what the reason of this workshop is. And thank you very much for Dr. Main and Guidance College and Shakir to allow us to do that, is to make sure that through capacity building, we get the things straight. And this is not normal capacity building that you know. This is a capacity building that is driven on these beliefs. This is a capacity building that is driven on this model. Prof. Kabir is one of a huge part of this whole capacity. Look at this capacity building. Now, this capacity building has its own governance structure. This governance structure has its own board. Prof. Kabir is a chairman of that board. Prof. Kabir, congratulations again for being elected as the chairman. This just happened a couple of months ago. That board and these board members are top-notch experts, staunch stalwarts of Islamic finance. No jokers. Under that committee, which is part of the governance structure, under that board, there are 3 committees. And the committees are also based on proper experts, 20, 40, 30 years old experts, top names. One committee decides what the curricula is going to be. The other committee decides if there is an exam, what the exam style is going to be. The other committee decides if there is a multilingual exam, what the translation standard has to be. It is such a stringent process. No university does that. We, as a result, end up having professional programs. We, as a result, end up having other professional platforms. We, as a result, have an infrastructure setup. This is the whole map which IOFI utilizes and uses to ensure that the mental makeup, the capacity creation, the skill development, the human capital, particularly the modern human capital that is going to operate in this new normal world, trying to take forward a modern Islamic finance 2.0, they are rightly equipped. They are believers and visionaries, not knowers. So we have number of professional programs, CIPA, CSA, CSAA, some of you already know, in multilingual approach. We have, this is what CIPA is, we have CSE, CSA, these are the fellowship programs. This is the style, anybody can take it from website, I'm just skipping through it. We have 10-day workshops, small workshops, smart workshops, 3-day workshop, refresher programs, BOD programs, Sharia scholar programs, whatnot. Again, based on all that infrastructure, institutional, the institutional approach that we take, following new institutional economics. These are those, why IOFI is these facets. And guess what? In IOFI, we are now going very digital, and it'll be the first time our full throttle e-learning platform is going to be launched. So whatever you need to know about IOFI standards, non-standards, activities, non-activities, lectures, fellowship certificates, preparation, no preparation, whatnot, it's just one button away. You will have a completely digital domain now. IOFI would be in your palm tops. Everything would be on e-learning basis. Guess what? Not only this, we are now, it's the first ever time in the 50-year latest history of Islamic finance, rejuvenated Islamic finance, I call it. We in IOFI are doing a landmark initiative. Guidance has already been invited to that. Guidance, as a matter of fact, is going to be a part of that in the United States. We are celebrating the human capital. We want to acknowledge them. We want to recognize them. We want to celebrate them. You are the powerhouse. You are the brain of Islamic finance. You are running the show, good or bad. I don't care. We have an industry that is called Islamic finance, which should be actually risk-sharing finance. You should be celebrated. So what we have done is we have launched a festival of celebration in Islamic finance. It's the first ever time, a festival, a week-long festival. It's like an amusement park of Islamic finance. It's like Google of Islamic finance. Have you gone to Google office? Man, oh man, you should. This is where the idea actually came. It's going to be an amusement of 1 week festival of Islamic finance, celebrating human capital, not only acknowledging and appreciating them, but upgrading them even more. And how do we upgrade them? What we've done is we are going to launch almost 25 workshops in those 7 days, including a 2-day grand conference between Islamic Development Bank and IOFI. 7 days of never seen before capacity creation is waiting. What's on offer? Look at this. All of these premium benefits, 4 different languages, by the way. All of this is going to be done in 4 different languages: English, Arabic, French, and Russian as well. Oh, by the way, Russia. Man, if Russia can adopt Islamic finance, why not America, for example? Somebody did something in Russia. I don't know what. Maybe I know, but who cares? Somebody did something. Perhaps an oil-rich or a country that has a red flag did something. You know, who knows? But, I mean, for crying out loud, Russia, at least this beautiful country has 4.7 million and increasing Muslim. You showed us the data. The number of Muslims are increasing, and on top of it, the youth is increasing. Give me a break. Russia, come on. It gets minus 40, minus 50 over there. Islamic finance, guess what? It did happen. If Russia can, and we had to introduce Russian workshops. We don't want it, but we were pushed by the Central Asian Russian markets. It's the first ever time a festival of this scale is happening in 4 different languages. We should also include Spanish if we want to entertain America more. So look at the topic coverage. Man, oh boy, oh my God, it is so mouth-watering. Wow. Man, oh man. Now, these are the topics. I mean, these are available. Guidance College will also make it available to you. Wow. Look at that. A workshop that is normally costing you $650 or even $1,000, if you are an academician or student, guess what? Only $100. Same sort of value, same sort of knowledge creation, same sort of expertise, everything the same. The moment you show me a Guidance College card, or you prove that you're a student, be it master's, PhD, graduate, whatever. Or you attended the workshop, yeah, that's right. You get the same thing, everything the same, the ticket is just $100. And not only that, if you book workshop number 2, number 3, 50% discount. So the second workshop is $50. The third workshop is $50. So if an industry person pays for $650 for one workshop, you pay me $650, you do 10 workshops, as a matter of fact. Online and offline, both options are available. Guidance College is becoming a partner, affiliate, and inshallah, I mean, they will do the needful, inshallah. IOFI, I mean, this is how crazy we are in making sure that, things are set straight vis-a-vis the understanding and human capital, the governance and standard of Islamic finance understanding. IOFI is going to be the first ever body who's going to, of its scope and scale and its stature, who's going to issue PhD scholarships. And they have also, over the last 4 or 5 years, they have also launched a fast, popular becoming journal because of the IOFI brand behind it, Journal of Islamic Accounting and Finance. You can also submit your research work in IOFI, and maybe, who knows, you'll be the lucky one to get a PhD scholarship for IOFI as well. Who knows, you have more Islamic finance students who want to do tax evasion topics. Who knows? So, guys, this is it. Thank you so very much. I mean, it was lovely to be part of this huge effort that Guidance College is doing. As I mentioned, mashallah, this has been pitched very well. I go back to IOFI and I will only have good words to talk about it. Right now, I think, we are doing a very grand MOU where IOFI, being the muscle power it carries, politically as well as otherwise, we're going to offer all its support to not only Guidance College, but to America itself, to up the ante and try and embrace Islamic finance from its value proposition perspective. Then guess what? You will not feel political challenges. if you still face political challenges in America, man, oh man, I mean, go back and do your homework. So, yeah, I mean, I'm so happy to be here. I mean, it's a great country. Yeah.
I was talking to a gentleman who wants to take the monochloride from the certificate exam, but he has to fly to London to take it. Can you talk to Guardians College whether they can be centered?
This is exactly what's going to happen, Prof. We're very proactive. This is exactly what's going to happen. I mean, Guidance College and IOFI is going to go into a very formal relationship of a comprehensive nature, where such events will get more pronounced, more impactful, and so many other things that we are cooperating in. One of the cooperation areas, Wilson, that you have vetted through is going to be Guidance College would not only become a center of IOFI exams and registration. You don't need to fly to London or Dubai to take IOFI courses and exams. You just come to Guidance College, and if you want to attend that festival, that is a one-of-a-kind festival at such cheap subsidized rates, come to Guidance College. You can, of course, come directly to IOFI as well, but if Guidance College is there, then why not? Why not? So thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much, Dr. Main, Prof. Habib. I mean, you've been a teacher, so is Prof. Americans. You see, they have influence. So thank you very much, Texas, Houston, for having me here. I do plan to roam around Houston perhaps tomorrow. Is it? Tonight? That's too fast. So it's no New York, by the way. So I look forward coming back and synergizing more. And here's for more ukhwa, more progress, and more joint successes is what I'm saying. Thank you very much. Wassalam.